Hey designers, welcome back to my channel Design with Pramod. Let's do designing together. In today's session, we'll be creating complete crash course of the Figma, guys. In this course, you'll be learning basics of Figma, how we configure the Figma, what and all things we'll be doing in the Figma, how do we have to design some kind of a basic things into the Figma, how do we have to start with designing. If you have zero experience also, if you follow this course till the end, you can actually create basic sites from here itself, guys. So we'll try to cover so many things here. Do make sure that you'll be following this course till the end. Hope you guys will enjoy. Let's get into the tool and let's try to understand one by one things, guys. So first thing is first, let's try to understand how do we have to install and configure the Figma, guys. So let's get into the google.com website. All right, so and let's try to search figma.com from here. Right, so we are here and let's try to go to this link here, and from here we'll try to download. If you are already logged into your account, right, you will get the like this. So for now we'll try to switch to different account from here. If I want to configure it, so I'll switch to different thing here. If I have the account, so I can log in through my Google, or I can actually use my email and password to log in. If I don't, then I can actually create one account from here. So I can actually create one account from here, and then I can actually start with email, and this is how I configure. And if you guys can see here, right, I have actually logged in here. And once you get into this one, so we'll go back to our web page, and this is simple process of logging in, guys. From there only you can actually download or configure, and you can actually install the software from there. So right now what I have done, I have actually downloaded and installed this software from the website, and I can go to here. So if I go to this page, right, this is how this home page looks right now. And if I click on this add button, right, I can actually create different types of file from here. So let's say I want to work with the design, then this section is here for me to work with the design. So I can actually create the Fig Jam board from here, where I can do the whiteboarding or different types of jamming from here. This is one add-on section what Figma has already introduced now, and this is one more slide section. And here from here itself we can actually create different types of slides from here. Maybe just try to, this is the replication of our PowerPoint, guys, and maybe it can replace the PowerPoint in some days for the designers. And this is how this looks right now, so we can get into those later. And this is like a buzz beta, this has its own purpose altogether, and these are very interesting and very cool features what Figma has recently given, that is like Figma Site and Figma Make, guys. These are different things. Again, we can drill down these later, so I'll be creating different crash course for these to cover, right? So these are my recent files what I have here. This is how these looks, and I can go back to home page again. This is how my home page looks right now. If you see here, right, these are my recently open projects, and the same things what we have, all these things are given here. And one more important thing about this one is like, this is not a simple import, guys, like how we have the different features all together. If you go back to this plus button again, will not get that actually. And this is the recent update. If I go back to the home page, and this is the import, this is not a simple import. As I said, this is like a import for different design files altogether. From here itself you can actually import your design files, guys. So this is how it looks. So this is not a simple import like you can actually import your image or whatever. So this is one thing, and we have all the recents here. And if I want to go to the different community, right, where you will be learning different things from here, so you will be getting so many inspirational files about the Figma. So it is very interesting and cool feature, guys, what Figma is connecting to the world, like all the different minds or technical, or all the different designers will be connecting or creating their own things and updating here. This is like a portfolio for different designers where they can actually upload their cool work here, and world will explore their great work, guys. One way of actually presenting your work, and this is how these different things looks. So you can actually get different open source files or different inspirations to work with the different things altogether. This is how it looks. And if you come here back here, right? This is like Design with Pramod's team. This is my team right now, so where I'm logged into. And if I want to log into different account, right, from here itself I can actually change to different account, and I can actually add, or I can actually log out from here. All right, and these are my project directories again. So this is how you can organize your different files all together. Let's say you have very complex project, so you can actually create different sections altogether to create the different things. If I want to create the new project, right, these are the different buttons helps you to create the different projects altogether. So you can actually see them in list wise or the grid wise. So this is how these are looking right now. And if I want to share the different projects from here itself, I can actually do that, or I can actually invite to the team members by link itself. And these are the pretty basic things, guys, what we can explore. So these are my different resources altogether. So if I create my different resources, like if I create my buds or slides or different things, right, these all resources will stay here. And so these are my trash, and this is my admin console where I can actually manage my team. So these are pretty basic things for all different softwares. This is how Figma is also having its own structure of laying out altogether. And let's get into one of the project where I'm actually working on. This is pretty much all thing about we configure our Figma tool and how do we have to configure the different projects or different files under the project. This is how it looks. All right, so let's try to create one project now, and let's try to understand each and every section of that project or the file. So now let's try to create the new project from here. So I'll click on this plus button from here, and we'll go to this section. Or there are two ways I can come here. One is this way, where if you are into the home page, then from here itself you can actually create the design file, or you can actually go to this plus button where it will actually add as a tab, and from there itself you can actually add the design file. We'll start with the design file. So this is our design file, guys. So let's try to name that. So for now, what I have done, I have actually named that file here. So this is our file. Let's close this for now, and let's try to understand this section first and toolbar section again, and how these will work all together. And if you see here, right, and the center part of this tool, it is like a canvas right now, where you can actually create multiple frames. All right, and if you click on F from your keyboard, you will get this option to create the different frames altogether. So if you zoom out these, right, you can actually create multiple things here altogether. Those are like your shapes, or this is like a frame right now, like document in the Photoshop or artboard in the Adobe XD. We call them differently in different tools altogether. And as part of the frame, you have different things altogether. If you activate frame again, you get these all different options here. These are presets from the Figma, which tool you are designing for. Like for example, if you are designing for iPhones, these many different options you have. If you are designing for the tablets, these many predefined sizes you will have here, like these for Surface Pro 8 1440 by 960. This is like we always refer our width into height. This is like width of a frame, or the size where viewport size I would say. And this is like 1440 by 960, and this is one for the desktop version. So these many different presets we have. Like that, we have different configurations here, like presentations, watch, paper, social media, Figma community, or archives. So different options you will have here. And what is the zoom in percentage for the canvas? Let's say I just activated this frame 3 for now, and I'll show you guys all the different properties of that frame. First thing, very interesting thing is like XY position of this frame respective to this canvas. So this is staying in different XY position altogether. All right, so this is about the XY position, and if you see here its position, right, you have 3 different shortcuts to rotate your different shapes into the Figma, and you have this flow sections. Again, we'll go into them later. In this right side section, you will get the different properties of any shape you draw or any frames you draw. All right, and that is like a design section for us now. And if you get into the prototype section, it is like more of an interactive sections where how these switchings will happen from one place to other different places. So this is how these two things are covered. And If you want to preview, this is how you can actually preview your different things altogether. So we'll try to understand those preview sections again. There are different types of customization also we do. If I go and try to explain this left side panel, right, where so you have all three different types of frames here. These are like artboards for us now. Like this is frame 1, frame 2, and frame 3, like that. So anyway, I have just named them differently. But if you come here and see these prototype sections, right, these are looking different altogether. All right, so this is like pages, files. Under these files you will have different types of things here, and I'll try to draw them one by one, and I'll try to show you guys how those will look later. So if I go back to this assets section, what do I mean by those assets sections are, like if you have the design or reusable components here, right, those will be listed under these ones. So for example, if you are creating components or some kind of a reusable items here, right, or if you are importing any kind of a design library from the third party users or designers, right, these all are listed here. So you create one page maybe, and you put all your design things here, and this is how these are listed. So this is about your assets and file section, and this is one more search option what you get. It is very handy, guys. Let's say you have tons of items into the canvas. All right, so if you have many things right under this page one, then you just type the proper name there, and that will actually highlight and showcase your items there. I'll show you guys that also. And this is pretty much about our Figma thing or tool, guys. And if you come back to this tool section, this is very important and interesting things, guys. From here itself everything starts. As a creative person, from here itself you can actually draw different things, and you can do a lot more things. And whatever AI features what you see right nowadays, those all are here, guys. I'll show you one by one how those looks. All right, and let's try to understand what this move tool or hand tool or scale tool does. So these all detailed explanation I have done in the previous sections. So I think you can find that tag here, and you can actually click and you can understand those move, hand, and scale tool. And if you come back here, and this is also very interesting thing. So by clicking on F from your keyboard, you activate your frame and you get the presets like that. So let's try to click on F, and if you see that, right, and if I want to design for mobile, right, I just go and select this frame, and that respective frame will come as is. And let's try to go into design section. If you guys can see here, right, so 393 pixel width and 852 is a height. That is like iPhone 15 iPhone 16 frame size what we have here. And this is how we can actually activate. And section is something where you can actually create different sections altogether. So let's say we have different prototype sections or complicated things, right? So by using this section, we can actually create one section altogether. And let's say we have one flow here. So let's say we have one flow like ordering a grocery kind of a flow. Let's say under that section only, you can actually put all the related sections or all the related frames or files to that section alone. So I can actually name that section and keep it handy. So if I have tons of files, right, so I can directly jump into that section, and I can actually use all the different screens, or I can customize my flow or whatever I want, right? So that is helpful for me. And these are different shapes what Figma has already provided, and these are very helpful when you are actually working with different types of tools. This is like a line tool, arrow tool, ellipse, polygon, when we try to design something, right? So these are very helpful. And like I said, if we are using the shortcuts like R or L and Shift L and O for ellipses, right, these are very helpful when you are designing complex things, or whenever you design whenever you want to use them frequently. So just a one single text reminder for you to use those shortcuts again. If I go back to this, right, so these are two different things here, pen and pencil. Like Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator, this pen tool is always helpful. And we have this text tool, and this is frequently used tool. That is why they are keeping it separate. I guess they are not merging as part of different things here. And these are different things here altogether. So comments, so we can actually leave any comments here if I am working with a different team members, right? So I just keep my comments handy, so this way I just comment it out, like addressing any person here. So let's say I am the part of this user, so this is like one more account for me, and that's I just address that person, and then I just say that please change this color or whatever. And this is how this comment will work. And annotations are also the same way, and measurements. So if I activate this one, so I can actually measure between these two elements. So this was very hectic when I was manually doing. So let's say I was doing something like a manual shape here, and then what I used to do, I used to manually draw some shapes like this. Let's say I'll show you just an example for that. Let's say I'm actually drawing one frame here and one more frame here. Then what I used to do initially, I used to struggle creating the shapes like this to measure its width or the padding or the gap between these two. And then I used to actually manually check the width of this one between these two gaps. So for now, this measurement tool will help in the short cut way, right? So this way, so this is like a 255 pixels of gap I have between these two frames. This is very handy, right? So this is one more add-on things what Figma is helping. So Figma is helping day by day to the designer, like each and everything they are considering as a feedback and trying to design and implement and provide to the designer. So this is actually helpful if you consider the smallest things, right? These are very helpful for the designers, guys. So this is how this is actually helping. And this is one more very vast big thing what Figma has recently came up with. There are so many things under this section. If you see this one, right, the star looking icon, and this is very helpful. These are my recent some of the things where I can actually, where my plugins are grouped here, where assets are given here, and all the different assets. I don't have to go here and search my assets, but here itself they have given it as a handy stuff for me to search my assets. And if I want to go here to the all section, right, if you see here, there are so many AI features are given here. So like this image editing, as part of the image editing, if you guys can see here, right, so if you have very low resolution images, you can actually use these features to boost your resolution. For example, if I am actually creating any kind of icons, or if I am downloading any assets from the internet, right, if I just ask the AI to boost that resolution, right, it actually works like a magic, guys. So I'll just show you that later. And if you come here, so if you want to work with this image edit feature, right, let's say if I am creating one image from the AI, then I can actually use this feature or whatever image type I have. So I can actually prompt the AI to create my images. I don't have to go to the Google, or I don't have to search any kind of a things related thing. If I just go and ask the AI to create the images for me for the background or whatever, right, that actually creates for me like a magic, right? And if I go to the design related items, right, these are the different AI features what Figma has come up with, right? So replace content. So I'll just show you guys, I'll later part of this session, I'll show you guys how these will help, right? Then this is like a first draft, and this will help you guys where you want to create some kind of a samples first and you want to present it to the business, right? This first draft is always helpful. And if you see here, right, I am not sure about this rename layers section. This was not actually working for me all the time, but not sure about others whether this is helping or not. And this actually gives very unrelated layer names, so which is very annoying for me, by the way. And this is like a search with image. This is one more AI. Let's say you have thousands of frames, thousands of components into your design section, right? So this search with image or selection thing will help a lot when you have tons of file into your design system or design file altogether. So, and this is one more thing which is very helpful when I'm working with ad interaction. So this AI helps a lot. And these are some more things what AI has given. So let's say I have this refining and writing. So while we have the big context, right? For example, we used to always use our lorem ipsum. We used to always use lorem ipsum into different design files, but now because of these things what Figma has given, right? So because of these all different features, you don't have to work with the lorem ipsum. If you create one proper section with the help of Figma, right, then you just use some shortcuts to drag those different items. I'll just show you guys what do I mean by that. But these are very helpful when you have big context into your pages or paragraph. You just want to have the related content again, the design, right? These are very helpful though. And if you have this option, right, shorten the content for any kind of a text you have written. It has given big huge context, right? You just give it as a prompt, and it actually helps you to shorten the context. And this is one more helpful feature. So being the designer, I don't have to understand different languages from different countries. You just have to give the AI one prompt that like you translate this text to Chinese or different kind of languages you can actually design, right? So that is very helpful. So I think these all are very helpful, guys, and these all features you will understand one by one, and I'll try to design one section, and I'll try to explain you guys how these are helpful and how we can actually master them or advance them into the later section, guys. And one more thing, guys, what Figma has given, there are so many things Figma is bringing. So this is like a draw section for me, and I'm actually using this for drawing some kind of a artworks into my designs. So when I want to work with some kind of a sketchy things, or if I want to add some kind of a backgrounds or whatever, I want to do that, right? This is draw section what I am always using right now into my designs. So if you see here, right, these are different tools what draw section is giving, like pen tool, like what we have in Photoshop or Figma or any other different design tools. And if you see here, right, so this is like a brush for me. So I want to use any kind of a brushy shades or whatever, right? I use this brush tool. And if I go to this pencil section, right, this is actually helpful when I'm trying to draw like a pencil kind of a thing. But if you have the trackpad and all with you, right, this pencil helps a lot to sketch any kind of a custom shapes. With the mouse, these are little tricky, but if you use them with a trackpad and all, right, so these are helpful. So this is about your draw section, and again on the top of it you have different frames or different tools, or you have different same things here all together as part of the draw too. And if you go to this dev mode section, right, this is one more big subject again, how this dev mode works. And in high level, dev mode means it's like you design as a designer and you give the same options to the developer, and this is like a dev handoff process we say. While doing that, like if you do that right as a designer, you can just see them here in this pixel wise format or whatever. But if you get into this dev mode section, right, you see the same frame into different layout type of properties where you have this your padding borders, like these looks like a developer tool where you have your width property. You can actually export them, you can actually hand off to the developers the way they want. Let's say you have some icons here, you just give it as a handoff option, it gives you into different options altogether. So this is very helpful for me though. And if you see here, right, if you get into the design section, if you observe here on the top, right, this actually has design related items like design and prototype. But if you get into the demo section, right, you have this inspect. As part of the inspect, you have which frame you are selected. So that this option is different although, and I'll just tell you, I'll just explain that later when I try to cover that demo sections altogether. And if you come here, right, so you have shortcuts from here itself. You can actually open this frame properties into direct Visual Studio Code or add a dev resource link. All right. and mark as ready for the development. And I'll tell you guys that is little tricky again. And if you see here, right, so if I have right now one shape here, and let me try to add, going back to the design mode, let me try to add one more shape here, and I'll just try to roughly fill this color into this shape. And let me go back to the dev mode again, and if you guys can see here, right, this is one more thing for me. And we have this property, whether this is the auto layout or what is the height or width or all different things what we can do here. Those all properties are listed here. And what is the color, and if I want to export this one as different things, right, I can actually export as a png, jpeg, or SVG if I want to use them into the code. And if I want to preview that, how that looks, right, so I can actually preview its thing. So if I zoom out things here, right, I can see that same preview here, what shape I have actually activated. So that is about the basic of dev mode. And if I go to the code section, that actually gives what type of a different properties I can use. So when I try to design very complex things, right, I'll show you guys how that dev mode things look. So this is the pretty much basic things about your Figma tool, guys. I hope you understood something great. And if you guys stayed till here, then for sure you are learning from me something. So whatever I learned so far, I'll be teaching you guys, I'll be sharing my knowledges here. Do share with the learners and do like my videos. That will just help to reach to the different learners altogether. To start with this course, we'll try to design one simple app, guys, which will have one login page and one home page. And I'll be showing you guys how all these different things will work all together as a harmony to create one perfect project. So if you guys understand these two screens properly, then you will be able to create very complex projects altogether. So keep in mind that you don't skip this video till the end. Right, let's go and let's try to design the things here. So I'll try to click F, that is for to activate our frame. Right, so let's go and type F from keyboard, and that will just bring up us many kind of artboard sizes. So that is one device what I'll be working with. This is like iPhone 16 Pro for now, and that is our frame. All right, so that is like frame 1. So here, if you guys can see here, right, where you have this icon and as part of the layer, if you go here as part of the layer, right, so this is our one frame, iPhone 16 Pro 1. And if you see here, right, that is same size of frame. And if I want to rename it, I can actually double click here and I can actually rename my frame. So this is like login page for me. All right, so this is my login page here. And if you see this icon, right, this looks like a hash icon here. That means it is like a frame, and against this frame you have many options here, which is like you can actually lock this frame. So by that you can actually lock, and you don't have, so by locking that frame, this frame will not move anywhere. All right, so that is the meaning of frame. And if you want to hide this, right, you can actually hide that, so that frame will be there. But if you see here, right, that will be disabled for now. So that is the meaning of hide and show and lock and unlock of the frame, guys. And this is how this frame looks right now. So as part of this thing, so what I want to create two things here. So let's say this is the pages section. If I click on this option here again, that will actually create one different page. And in this canvas again, you can create tons of files, so there is no limitation at all. So that is one more advantage what Figma has other than other different tools altogether. So let's go back to the page 1. Right, so this is our page 1, and let's try to go here and try to draw one input box. So this is how you draw your input box. And then I'll activate my text tool here, and I'll just say that username, and that is my first input box. So this is how it looks for now. And I'll just have one more icon. So I'll just click on this option again, the star option again from the toolbar, and I'll go to this plugin. And this is one of the plugin I always use for my icons, and this is very handy for me though, and that takes little time to load. And that will be my user icon. Right, so So this is my user icon. So I'll just drag and drop that icon here, right? So if you guys hide this one, right, so that ain't came, and I'll go back again and I'll just drag and drop that icon here, and this is my user icon. This is how it looks right now. So this is how it looks. If you see here, right, under this frame you have one frame that is like one frame here that has the icon. So if I bring that out, right, that will just stay as is. I'll go back again, and this is how my frame looks right now. And if you see here, right, this is my text that is like username. It actually shows. If I lock this, right, again, you can't move this text here and here. So for now, let's unlock it. And so this is how it looks. So how this will help, so these are the different options we have here. So for now, so this looks very unbalanced, right? So I'm just dragging that randomly, so to keep it consistent, right? So I'll just go here, and I have these all alignment sections here. So this is like left align. If I go here, right, so this is whatever icon we had here that was moving here. And if you select these two items together, and if you go here and align this vertically, right, so this will align your items like that. So this is how it looks. So for now, this is how these alignments will work. And if I see this XY position, right, against that one, so if you change its X, right, if you select this one, since this is the part of this frame one, right, this is the X of this username and Y position of this username. If I change it, right, the Y position of that will change. If you see here, right, this is how your Y positions are changing. And if you change the X position, right, this will go like this. So these are the different things again. So I go here and I drag and drop here. So if I add this stroke, right, the stroke will be added to that input box. That looks very ugly though, but I'll show you guys one by one step how you can actually create these things properly. So this is one input box, that is my username, this is my password, and I'll just go and enter password. This is my password. The same way, I'll just go here and I'll just go and search the icon for password. This is good. And let's try to drag and drop. And this is my password, right? Now we have actually two frames. This is like, I can actually rename by double clicking on this frame as well. And this is like username. And if I want to move this to the top right, and this is how you can actually move, and you can actually see this as a login, right? This is frame, and under this login. So since you have moved out of this login frame, if you drag, right, you see that, right, this is actually moving out of the frame because of you dragged and dropped that thing here. So you can actually select this again. You can actually drag and drop under this login section. This is how you can actually drag your items top and bottom. And if you see that, right, so this is one frame. If you actually draw one item, right, so let's say this is not a frame, so let's go and try to draw one rectangle here. So by clicking on R from a keyboard, I'm just activating that rectangle tool, and I'm just dragging and dropping. If you guys see here, right here, that actually says that this is a rectangle what you have drawn. And if you see that, right, the small icon here, that actually looks sharper. I'll show you one more very important thing, or very minute thing, but that is very helpful for the designer when they have tons of items here. So I'll show you guys what do I mean by that. So if I change the border radius of that one, right, you see that, right, this also became circular to the both side. And that is very small thing, but that is very helpful from the Figma though. All right, so this is one thing. So let's go ahead and delete that, and I'll just create one more option that is like a login button for me now. And this is how it actually comes, and I'll just try to fill that again, and let me go and fill that button with some random color, and I'm just striping in by activating text tool. That is my login button. All right, so now I have created everything manual. All right, so what I have to do, I have to actually type, draw each and everything manual. But if you go one step ahead, there comes the auto layout, guys. That is like very helpful when you are trying to design auto layout altogether. So I'll create the same thing with the help of auto layout. All right, let me go and create the auto layout. So if you guys see here, right, this is one frame. Under that frame you have login button, and this is one login screen without auto layout. Now I'll go here and create everything from the scratch with the auto layout. Keep this in mind that this is very important section, guys. This is like a very basic thing when you want to design something, right? This is very helpful when you create any kind of a things in advanced level. This is very helpful. Like right now, if you guys see here, right, if I want to do the alignment and all, right, I did the grouping. But if you see here, right, we have very random alignments here, random padding here, and if you see here, right, I have little messed up gap here and all different things here. So if I change it here, right, here and there, so this is very messed up item though. So with the auto layout, everything will be very aligned and neat for the things. So let's go and try to create this input box, right? I'll just try to type username. So let's get into the different section here. Let's delete from here, and I want to start with a username. So that is my first input box though. So I'll go here and type in username. That is my first input box. So I just typed username, and you can see all the different properties here, right? So I can change its, and if I want to change their font types, right, or weight of the font, then I can click on that option and I can change that. These are very common options though. And if I have multiple lines, I can actually use this line height option here. And if I want to use the letter spacing, right, this is how these are different things will come under typography. And if I want to align them, right, if I have the para, so I want to have them left align, then this option will work, or center line, then these options will work. Or if I want to have more options, right, this is how these all different things are given from the Figma. These are very helpful when you are actually working on UI elements or typography kind of a things if you do, right? So if you see alignment, decorations, all different things. So these are not sure when to use, but I was limited to some different minimal number of features, and I always work with my design, guys. But when you want to work with a very flashy design, everything, right, these all things will work. And when it comes to the typography, this is like, this actually takes the credit of 30% when you want to improve the UI, according to me. And if you see the details, right, so all the different things here, and so case, which case you want, like uppercase, all different things, if you see that, right, so many options. So whenever someone says that I'm missing this one, then Figma listens and try to provide it as a software update, guys. So that is the cool thing about Figma. That is why it is like a monopoly thing in the design industry. So like I typed here, so this is my username. So I just select this one and I'll create. So there are, now I'll apply the auto layout on this one. All right, so there are three different ways I can actually apply the auto layout. So one is this one. So I'll just click on Shift A. That is one way of applying the auto layout, and I'll just come undo that again, and I'll show you one more type. So I'll just right click and add auto layout. So that is one option. So by right clicking on your mouse, you can actually activate your auto layout, and this is one way. And I'll go back again and I'll try to select this one. And I think when you are having the frame, then only that third option will come for us. So let's ignore that third option, and let me go and apply the auto layout on this one again. And let me go and try to search for the icon that is like, so we have that icon though here. So let's copy the same icon with that frame, and let me go and try to copy that frame. If you guys see here, right, that actually came up with different options altogether. Now let's come to this auto layout section, keeping this here. And if you guys see here, right, I have my aligned items horizontally, so that is why this is the frame with auto layout, but all the items into this one are aligned horizontally. Let's say I want to duplicate this icon one more time and I want to keep something else in the left side, right? This is how these items are coming. And if I want to align them vertically, this flow section is very helpful. When you, it's like a shortcut for you to align your item with the auto layout. So this is how this comes. So all the items are vertically aligned. And if you click on this free form, right, whatever items you have in that frame are like free to move anywhere. That is the meaning of free form, guys. So I think you understood what we have. Let's stick back to the horizontal alignment for now. And if you guys see here, right, so we have this text with the auto layout, but now again width and height are different options here. So now we have the fixed width, so that is why it has like, it is cutting its items. And now if you come back here and just enable this clip, right, these two icons will be disabled because you are clipping outside of the frames. Whatever you have, right, those all things are clipped for you. So let's say we want to have the horizontal scroll on this one, right, keeping multiple items horizontally, then you can actually use this clip content, and under that frame those all items will be clipped for you. So these one things what I'm explaining you guys here, these are very important things. So if you don't understand, just pause there and try to follow me where I am missing or what I'm explaining, so that way you can actually understand how this auto layout will work. Once you understand this basic, right, so you will play with it later. So you have to play with it later, so you can actually create very custom or advanced level of items altogether. So this is how it comes. So now let's go back and disable that clip. So these items are coming, but still that is clipped, still that is like out of the frame. So let's go and enable this clip, and then width, here it comes the magic, guys. Again, this hug content, whatever we have under this frame, all we want to hug together. So we'll just click on that, so all the items are under frame. So that is the meaning of hug, guys. Hope you understood that, right? So now this is one auto layout. For now we want to have that username design, so we have that one here. And now we have our item somehow looks like it is top aligned. So if you see this alignment section right on the right side, this looks, the username looks like it is like top aligned. Now I want to keep it like center line, so looks aligned, right? Now whatever I want to do it, right, so I cannot move my item here and there. If you see here, right, I'm dragging here because all items are like horizontally aligned or kept horizontally. So if you see here, right, I'm just moving that here and there, but because of that alignment section for the auto layout, this is the text which is staying in the center. That is the meaning of alignment. So now here it comes, guys, the gap. Now we have the 10 pixel gap. If I keep this auto, I will tell you what happens. Let's try to finish this input box for now, and let's try to fill this with color. And since our text was like white, and one more thing about the Figma, guys, is like if you are working on the black canvas and if you are activating the text tool for now, then it actually gives you white color. So hello, that is sample what I'm typing. And if you are actually working on white color frame and I'm trying to enter it, right, hello, you see the difference, right? It actually understand where you are typing, then it automatically suggests which text color you want to type here. It keeps suggesting itself, like maybe it's a feature of AI, and that is very helpful, guys. So let's delete this one for now, and let's try to have this color to text, and this is my text. And like I said, if you see here, right, if you hover here, so it actually gives you like how much padding you have to the right, how much padding you have to the left, how much padding you have top and bottom. So these are different properties you have here. And now if you see here, right, and if you see one more thing here, so complete frame is with fixed width 120, But if it is not with a hug, right, so I'll show you guys what happens. So it keeps its padding to the right and left, and if I want to increase or decrease, right, so it is actually sticking, and I'm just disabling that to manual, then it actually gives me this much thing. So here, and this is how it actually behaves when you are working with the auto layout. And now I want to keep this icon to the right, then I'll go here, and this gap I just keep it to auto, and then it goes to the respective place where we want to have, because it keeps the padding left and right to the fixed 6 pixel width. And this is how it actually looks. If you see here, right, top and bottom 10 pixel. And if you want to control it manually, you can actually keep the changes, you can actually make the changes manually. So if you want to have the padding to 10 pixel in the left and 10 pixel on the right, top and bottom, this is how it looks. So let's keep it as is now, let's not do it manual for now, and this is how it comes. And the height wise also same properties comes here. So if you see here, right, hug, if I change its properties like this way, right, it actually goes like that. But if you see here, right now it is like fixed height. That is why whatever height you change it to, it actually behaves with respect to that. So it keeps its padding manual. And but if you keep it like hug, right, it comes to the respective place where keeping its same original place altogether. So this frame is like now fully with auto layout. All right, so if I want to, we should not do this way of the adding or removing the padding. So what we should do, rather than that, we should have this option to have that padding enabled or disabled. So why this is actually going this way, because our width is like 173 pixels, that is like a fixed width for now. If we go here and see that, right, like hug option, if we enable, then that option will be enabled for us. So this is how it is actually coming. So now our width is like, the gap between these two elements are like fixed now, or it is like 10 pixels now. So if we keep that auto, then it will come like that. But you might be wondering that why it is actually giving that much, because it is actually giving us this much padding. So if we reduce that to 10 pixel, this is how our one input box is designed. Now I'll not put that frame for now, so we'll just go and have this frame selected here. So I want to have that. If you see here, right, because of that auto layout, if I click on that K element, that is like a scale for us. If you see here, right, by clicking on K, our scale item is enabled. That means what? So our width and height will be locked, the aspect ratio will be locked. So if I reduce the size of this one, right, this will actually not break, and that will not actually go randomly. So if you see here, right, I can actually give that point 50 pixels as a width and height, so that will not break the item. If I want to have this anchor point also enabled, right, I can do that here. And if you see that, right, everything will be properly aligned with respect to that scale option. If I disable that again, if you see here, right, our aspect ratio is also enabled. And if I disable that, so that will go here again. If I click on that K item, right, so I'll just go here and enable that K, and that scale option will be enabled for us. So now we have our one input box ready. So let's try to refine that little bit, adding some border radius to it. Maybe it could be around 6 pixels for me. And if you see that, right, so if I disable that clip content here, that will not affect. So that will actually work the way we want. So now we'll go and add into one frame. So this is our login frame, and for now, and this is our one input box here. Let's try to replace with that. And so now we can't see our stroke, so we'll try to enable that stroke here. And I'll just delete this one here again. Let's try to move them out of this frame. And if I resize this one, right, so if you see that, right, everything is properly given here with the padding, top, bottom, left, right, everywhere. And if you see here, right, if I actually stretch this one, everything is aligned on the proper place. And if I go here, if I stretch that one, right, so whatever we had as a hug thing, right, that will become like fixed one. So if you see, right, if I want to have that, that actually gives us the freedom. If you want to have that height, you can keep it, but if you go back and check that hug item enabled, right, so that will actually think how much is the proper padding is required. If I increase my text height, it will actually create me some equal padding here and there, if you see that, right. So it is actually increasing the height automatically because of our hug item. If I fix that, right, so and if I change my text height here, then it will actually see here, right, so it will actually keep its own consistent way. And this is how our auto layout works, guys. That is the meaning of auto layout. So rather than we working with the manual items, this is how our auto layout works. So now I'll try to duplicate this one, and I'll try to go here and try to have these two frames here. If you see in the left side, right, now if you go back to this left side panel where our file section is listed, where our login page is one frame, under that frame 5 is one item, which is like username maybe, or we can have that as a password. And let's try to have this text to around 16 pixels now, and we have to have that as a hug, or the width wise, let's keep it as is, and we'll go here and change it to hug again, the height wise. And you see that, right, this also has 39 pixel height, and this also has 39 pixel height. For the learning purpose, I'm not following any rules of UI, but I'm just showcasing you one by one things how these are helpful, guys. Okay, and let's go here and try to apply auto layout on them too. And if I want to have these paddings properly, right, then I'll just go here and try to have this 20 pixel padding between them. So rather than we thinking and dragging and dropping them manually, if we give this way of the padding, so the all items whatever we put in the screens are arranged properly. So that is how it is coming. So even we'll try to design this button here. So how do we design that button? Let's try to go here and try to type a text called login. This is our login text, and we'll try to go here and try to apply auto layout, maybe this way or with a shortcut. So this is how we have applied our auto layout. And now we'll try to go and fill the color the same as this one. So if you see here, right, now it looks more crisp. All right, so what I want to have, there is one more important things now what I want to show. So I'll just drag, and let's try to have the same corner radius like 6 pixels now as input box. So this is our input box, right? So it has here, and what I want to have, if you see here, I just drag this item here and drop that item here. So that is our input box. If I want to drag that out, right, if I drag that out, that actually comes out of the frame. If you come here and see that, right, so if you see here, right, the frame is like this one, which is like auto layout enabled, and whatever items we have here, those are aligned this way. And if you see here, right, so this item whatever we have here under this layout section, if you see here, right, these two items are vertically aligned. And now instead of that, what I would do, I would go and activate that grid system. So this is how it is actually coming. So in this grid system, we have one column and two rows, right? So this is one row and this is one row. If I actually have this one enabled, right, so now I want to have this one more added here. So this is how it is actually coming. So if you see that, right, this frame is like left aligned with that auto layout enabled frame. So this is how this frame looks. And if your items are like vertically aligned, if you see the difference, right, so this is how it is actually coming. So this is the meaning of whatever frame you have under this frame, this is like auto layout enabled frame. So now it looks like a hashed icon. This is a frame. This is a plain frame without auto layout. So what I'll do, I'll just go and try to apply our auto layout on this one. If you see that, right, hash got changed to this way. And if I want to disable the auto layout on this one, if you see it here, right, this is like auto layout icon for us now. So what I'll do, well, I'll just disable this auto layout from this one. So again, you are back to this hash icon. So we don't want for now as a auto layout. So all right, so this is how it looks now. As part of this frame 6, so we have these many items here, and those all are like auto layout enabled frames with properly aligned items into them. So one is like password. Now if I go here and change that to this way, right, so let's go and try to copy paste that icon. I'll just copy this icon because we want that as a password. And let's cut here and select this frame and try to copy that. And by activating scale tool, I'll try to reduce that to smaller icon size. All right, so let's go and try to delete that. And let's rename this to password. So this is our password. And if you see here, right, so initially if you go here and if you bring this frame out, this is one parent frame what we had here, and this has only two properties like fixed width and hug property. But if you go here and check this one, right, it is having like a fill, hug and fixed width property. When that fill width will come, all right, so when that fill container will come, so let's say this is one container for you, this is like frame 6 for now, and this is a frame which is like independently staying there. This is acting as a parent here. So for this section, this complete container is a parent and this becomes the child. Then only we get that fill container option, guys. All right, so for this one, if you see here, right, this is like a hug right now. So whatever width of the text we had with this much padding, right, left and right padding, this is like hugging here with that container. But if you go here and check this to or change this to fill container, right, the button is actually filling with that same container size. That is interesting, right? Again, if this was like an independent layout, we'll go here and drag and drop that item here. So we'll just try to change their positions, like this is username and this is password for me. So this is how we actually work with a perfect auto layout, guys. Hope you guys understood how to work with the auto layout and what is the meaning of auto layout. And by using the auto layout, you can use or you can actually save lot of time, guys, to with a perfect design. So if I go here and change its properties, now we have this one like fill container, right? So this is sticking here as is. And if I change this to like the padding between this password and this icon is like auto. Now if I change that to manual, right, so it's like 10 pixel, or if I want to change it to 50 pixel, this is how it actually behaves. Now we want to go back again and change it to auto, and that actually aligns our icon properly. And this actually has fixed width, so that is why it is not actually stretching. So if I change back to fill container, it actually behaves with respect to whatever stretch you want to have. But with this manual item, if you see here, right, everything is separate here. We did manual work here. So if you see here, right, our icon is cutting, nothing is properly working. If you see here, right, the text is going here and there. But if you compare to this frame, whatever we have here, this is like auto layout enabled item for us. So that is why it is actually behaving properly. So if you want to change my placement of this input box here and there, so you can actually change and you can actually add anything you want, right? Let's say you want to add one remember me text here. I'll show you guys how easy it is, right, without breaking our elements. All right, so I just go here and I'll just try to draw one rectangle like a checkbox here for me, and I'll try to go and try to type in like text remember me password. So this is like a question mark for the user, whoever is trying to log in, All right, so this is like a question mark, and let's go and try to apply auto layout on this one and this one too, and we'll try to group them together, applying the auto layout again. So when I try to work the with a perfect auto layout, right, I don't have to look at the left side section at all. So once I start working on this design, so I don't look at this section. So if I want to have the complex breakdowns and all, right, to check where is my elements and all, then only I look at this left side section, guys. So we try to group them together in such a way that these are with perfect auto layout. So whenever I come to the design, right, so I just work with the auto layout in a such a way that I just create something from somewhere else, or I just pull something and break the elements and I just drag and drop into my component list. So that makes my life easy when we understand the auto layout perfectly, guys. So this is very big subject. Again, if you guys understand the basics, then it is very easy for you guys to work with auto layout, right? So this is one checkbox for us, and let's try to have some stroke here, and let's try to have some corner radius like 4 pixel now. And this is one checkbox with remember me text, and let's try to have this text too little darker, maybe 6 color. All right, 6 hexadecimals, and let me drag here and drop here. Cool, right? So now if you guys see here, right, so if I see here the padding between these two, I just dragged and dropped. So because of that auto layout, this is like magical now. So I just keep it at the bottom, and now my auto layout enabled login page is ready. And let's try to have some text here on the top. Welcome back, like welcome. Maybe I want to increase the font weight to some kind of a boldish font, and then I'll just increase that to 24 pixel, and maybe I'll just have this one here. I'm right now not spending time on UI, how I improvise my UI and all right. So this is my login page, and I just fill with some color. Maybe that is like some kind of a beautiful gradient. Maybe I just go with this one and kind of a linear color, and here you go. So we just go here and change this to kind of a purple design. And if I go here and if I see the things right, I can actually pull the things from my library. I design these colors as a tokens here. I can actually fetch those things from here, and all the different color libraries can be here. So for now, let's go with a custom one. And if you change here, right, you can actually change from hexadecimal to RGB or CSS or whatever you want to have. And this is like an eyedropper tool, like other design tools what we have, to just tell you guys like how I actually drill down and change my colors. So these many different options of colors, because we have when we try to play with the UI, like this is like a solid flat color, and this is like a linear color, where we have that different types of linear color applied options, like where you have the radial color or angular difference you can have, or diamond type of options you can have. So for now we'll stick with this linear, and this is one option where you can actually have this as a, like different options altogether. You can play here, you can actually place as an image as a background, or you can actually place video as a background to this screen, where if you have created something cool, right? So blend mode is also helpful. So when we work with a UI, right, we can actually get those hands on. And for now we'll go with this again. All right, so let's go here as a blue one, maybe. Yeah, and now we have little blended screen. It looks ugly, but for now it is good. I just showed you guys how I apply my UI elements though. So this is good, right? And we have our login page, and let me go and try to change something. It is looking very odd. All right, so this is our UI, and this is our welcome text, remember me, a username and password, and my login text. So now let's try to duplicate some screens. All right, so let's try to duplicate some screens like these. We have 4 different screens. All right, so where what we want to have, let's try to delete this one, this one too, and let's try to keep this as a header, and let's try to use this button here. All right, so this is our button. All right, and we want to have this one like success message showcasing button, and this in this screen maybe while ordering some elements or items, right? So maybe we might be having some issues or something like a fail happen, then this could be our fail button. All right, and there is one more button which is like warning button maybe. So these are 4 types of buttons we have. Maybe let's try to reduce its width like this. All right, and like this fail, and this one too. All right, so we wanted to have one kind of a button where I want to show success, fail, and warning. All right, but imagine that this button I want to have everywhere, right? So how many times I'll go this button and change the color, right? So let's say for the success I want to keep some random green. This is my success button, and this is my one more button fail, which I want to play with red color to showcase my fail, and I want to show this as a orangish color. So this could be one use case where you would be using these 3 different types of states here, one for some use cases. All right, so and like this in a project you might be having 100 plus screens, but you want to use the same button everywhere without changing its property. Maybe if you are a human, right, so you are creating that button multiple times, but you as a human being you will be creating multiple errors. Maybe sometimes you will be having that as a stroke, maybe you will be having some this text color too bold or regular, kind of that way. If you are working with a multiple designers, they would create the issues in your design. So to avoid that, we'll be creating the component guys. So that is why we call them as a reusable component. So we create components in one option or one section, and we keep using them again and again. So if we create that icon, or if you create anything as a component, right, you can actually search in this asset section and as a local component, and you can actually use them into your project file. And it becomes handy when you have perfect component guys. So you being the designer, that is what we call it as a design system. So whenever we use the reusable component in, so once we create all the different sections or all the different file types in one parent file, and there will be some users who will be authorizing it, and those guys will be owning those files and changing things into those parent files. From there itself we can actually reference those components or reusable components, and we can actually design our items guys. That is how we use the reusable components. So let's try to create one simple component now to just understand how we create the component and how we can actually use them into our design. So let's go and try to create the page, and so I'll just name that page as a component. All right, I just named that page as a components, and this is like app version 1. So let's try to create the button now. So I'll just enter T, and I just activate my text tool, and I just enter button default. All right, so this is my button default, and then on this one I'll just apply the auto layout if I want to, and then I just fill that color with something as a default color, and maybe I'll just pick that color, whatever primary I choose here. Maybe this is the primary color what we picked previously, and I'll just copy this one, and I go to my component and I apply that as a background. So this is our primary button. All right, so this is our default color. We want to create the component, right? So there are again different options how we can actually create the component. Like this is button default, and if you see here, right, so we have this option like a diamond star kind of a icon which helps us to create one component, or you have this command option K to create this as a shortcut, right? There is a shortcut key again to create the component, and again you have these different options here. So I'll tell you guys, when we work with the shapes, these different options will be helpful for us, like union, subtract, all these things are later. But if you go here and change this one to toggle for ready for dev, right, this is different option again as part of the frame. So we want to, what we did apply the auto layout. So if we change the text to something else, right, that will actually behave with respect to that text width, whatever we type in. All right, and now what we want to have this frame to be enabled as a component. Like I said, you can actually right click here and you can actually create the component, and this is one way, and there is one more way. You can have this icon clicked and that will also create one component, and you can actually use the shortcut command option K, so that will also create one component. So let's go with the shortcut now, command option K, that created the component. If you see here, right, by default, if you have observed that, so let me undo that again to showcase how we created the component. So let's go and undo that. So by default, this is like auto layout enabled frame, if you see that icon, and I'll just go here and create that component. So it actually changed its color. So command option K, that actually created one component for us. All right, so now we have one component. If you see here, that actually gave the same icon whatever we had here. All right, so I'll show you that again. So the icon types, so if you see that icon, right, that icon comes here. So let me do that again, command option K, so that creates the icon here. And if you see here, right, once you activated that frame to component, so that icon will go from here, and different next options it will come here, what else you can do on that component. All right, so now this is like a default item for us. All right, this is one component we created, and now we want to have three different states. All right, so like this, so success, fail, and warning. And I go here, and now I want to create instances of this component, like different states of this component maybe. And let me go here, and by clicking on this one also I can click and add the variant of it, and we might call it as an instance also, and like properties, and then I go here and click on this one, that actually adds the instance. So if you see here that, right, so you can actually duplicate those instances, or you can actually add more variants to it, like that. So now imagine this is like a success, fail, and warning, and we want to go here and pick those color. This is my success color, and I go to the component file and I change its color to green, hit enter, and I'll change that to success. All right, so this is my success text, and I want to change it to failed and warning. These my different options, and for fail I would go for the red, and for warning I will go for the orange. All right, so these different colors I have. Now this is like button. Now this button option is there already. Now we'll go and go to this app version, and if you guys come here and go to this assets section, we'll try to search button, and now we have our button component ready, guys, so we can do that. So what we'll do, we'll try to select this button. If you hover on this button, right, it shows actually how many variants you have. Like we created 4 variants, right? It actually shows 4 different variants here. So to just see the update, we'll try to delete one variant from this one, and we go here back again, and if you see that, right, there are 3 variants of that same component whatever we created. So let's go here and change that to different things. So let's try to search that component again from our local file. We'll go to the asset and we'll try to see that, right? This is my success button, and this is my, I'll just duplicate that and change its status. So how do we change that from success to different things? If you see that, right, properties of that button. So if you see that, right, this is the bottom button we have here. So since we did not name those variants, those are coming as this way. If we change their names, right, let's go back here and change their names to something different. Variant 2 to green. All right, so let's rename it to red, and let's name this to morning, orange maybe. And we go back here again, and if you see that, right, so all our property names are changed here. For the red, this is like failed, and if you see that, right, and if you duplicate this again, and if you see here to orange, so magical, right? So when once we created those items here, and those all things are replicated this way, wherever we want, we will be having the same styles. But if you, there is one more advantage what we see here. If we change the things on the child object, right, no changes will happen on these different things, since someone is owning that file, right? If someone owns that file, if they don't the change the things, if they want to make the changes locally, that changes will happen, right? I'll show you guys. So if I change the color to something grayish, right, no affecting things to the back to the things. If I am the owner of that same component, then from here itself I can actually push the changes to the main component whatever we have here. So to just show you guys, I'll just do one thing here. From here I just update that color. If you come here and see the color of that thing, right, fade to something gray we made, right, until unless I push those changes, right, if I'm the owner of that file, then only I can do this thing. So I will change to push changes push to main component. This alert will come here, and if I go back here and if I see the things, right, perfectly change that color to grayish one. So that is how we do our components, guys. That is how we play with the different components. Now let's say that we are working on components and we are working on very complex design system where we'll be having tons of components, right? Let's try to say that we have one button or one icon, and it's all different properties. You create them and you keep them stored as a different variants, right? Imagine you have 100 plus components into your design system. Then what you will do, you will be having the trouble to manage those all document in different places as a design system, and you will be having trouble to manage them in one place. Then there we will try to create component properties, and how that will be created I'll just show you with one simple example, guys, and how those component properties will help to reduce different things, right? We'll see them one by one, and that will actually help a lot when you try to design very complex things, and that actually reduces a lot of things to manage in one place. So we are into the tool now, and let's try to understand with a simple button item, so how that actually helps. All right, so let's say I'm creating one button component, and then this is my button component. So let's try to apply auto layout on this one by clicking on Shift A, and then we'll try to have an icon here maybe, and that will be this add icon, so we can actually manage that text later. And let's try to fill this with some color, that is a white color, and let's say that is our primary, some kind of a bluish button here. let's try to create this as a component. All right, so by applying or by clicking command option K, we'll be creating this as a component. As you guys can see here, this is like component now, and let's try to name this as a button component. All right, and if we have the instances, right, so let's try to have some of the instances for this one. So this is like hover button for me, so where I'll be having little darker color. This is like hover button for me, and these two different variants we can have here, or instances of the component. All right, then what we'll do, we'll try to name this one is a default button. All right, and let's try to have this one as a hover button. Let's try to understand some more properties of Figma, like the prototype. If you come here on the top right, you have two sections here, and this is design section and this is prototype section, right? So if you come here, and there is a shortcut to switch between these two options, like Shift E, right? So this is one option. If I click on Shift E again, you can actually switch back to design mode, and if you click on Shift E again, you can actually switch from design mode to prototype, like this, right? And let's go back to the design mode now, and if I go here, and if you see that, right, if you are into design mode, this is how this panel, complete panel looks. But if you come to this prototype section, right, so you will have this option here, and if you hover on this button here, right, you have this little bubble kind of a icon here, right, on this button. So you can connect this screen from here to here, and this is how your prototype works, like the interaction, right? From this screen to this screen, you can actually navigate right after you click. The interaction type, right? So these are different types of interaction types. If you come here and see this one, right, so on tap, you can actually switch from this screen to this screen. This is how it shows. And action is like navigate to from login to this login page again, if you want to rename this to different one, right? The home page, I would say. And from here you can actually switch back if you want to customize it again. So if you hover on this bar, right, the connecting line, from here itself you can actually click and you can see the different configurations here. So if you come here again, right, the interaction from tab, and that is actually going to the home page. And if you actually click on this section, right, you can actually remove the interaction again, and you can go back here again and you can connect here like this. And this is how you can actually do the interaction. If you want to add the interactions, right, from here itself you can add multiple interaction on the same line. This is how you can actually work with the interaction, guys, or you can actually prototype the things. All right, so let's go back and delete this one here. And since if you see this one, right, one interaction you have already added, if you want to add one more, the same type of interaction you cannot add. So you just go ahead and try to delete that here. And if you come back again, and from here itself, let's try to have one more icon. So let me drag one more icon from an iconify, that is like a back button for me. I'm not going to design any complex screen for now. I'm just showing you guys how these different things will work, right? Let's go and try to drag that back icon here. And this is our back icon though. And let's try to increase the size for the back icon. And let's see, this is the back icon for me. From here, I want to go back to my login page, right? So this is my login page. Let me try to connect this back again by clicking on Shift E. I'll go back to the prototype mode again, and let me go back and connect back to the screen. Let's try to preview this right now. How do we preview that? There is a button here like a play icon. So if you want to preview this in different screen, right, this is how it looks. If you want to preview in the same workspace, if you want to preview continuously, right, you just hit on this one, this option will be enabled for you. And this is how your mobile screen looks now. And in this one, if you can see that, right, so this is how the screen looks. And from here, if you hover on this one, right, if there is an interaction already connected from this button, then if you click on anywhere of the screen, right, it actually shows or highlights that section. If you see here, right, that login button is blinking here because I'm clicking here. So that says you have connected from this button to somewhere. So that is how it actually suggests us. So you just go here on hover on that button, it actually shows you the hand icon, so you can actually click and go to the home page, and you can click on that bike again. So if you see here, right, I'm clicking somewhere on this screen, and if you see that, right, that is actually blinking. So from there we have connected back to the home. So let's go back to the login screen. This is how your screens will interact each other. This is how you can actually connect from one screen to another screen. And this is a basic interaction I have showed you guys, and let me show you some interesting things here in detail. So if you see here, right, so this is like a prototype setting for us. So if you are creating for the iPhone 16, right, that is why this actually came. If you want to change the device type, if you are working for the web, right, you can actually see that in actually web viewports here. So there are so many custom options available for you to preview your things here. So this is pretty much interesting, right? So you can actually see all the different things. If you don't want anything, right, so I don't want any device here, so you just go back and say I don't want any device to preview, I just want to have the look at it like how it looks, so it doesn't show you any device type here. So if you go back again and see that, right, so let's go here and see that I want to have the iPhone Pro 16 Pro, and if I want to preview that, if you see that, right, this is iPhone previewer is coming. If I close this back again, if I want to not have any kind of a device to preview my thing, right, so I just go back here and I just say that there is a no device available for me. And if I want to go to the advanced prototype, let me go back and see here, right, so I go back here and I just click on this link. I'll just show you guys what else options we'll be having to play with. So let's say I have the option of on click. This is one option by default, anywhere it is available. Let's say you are changing that to on drag. So let's say I want to drag this somehow from this state to this state, then this actually works on drag. So on drag, this actually switches from this page to this page. And the similar way while hovering, if I hover that on this button, let me go back and say that while hovering I want to move this from this to this screen. Then if I want to preview that again, so if you see here, right, so while hovering only, it is actually changing its state and going back to the home page. And that is very interesting, right? The similar way I have so many options while pressing. So, and if I go here and see while pressing any key, if I want to go back to the screen, right, this is how you can navigate to the different page here. And these are the different options. Again, with the mouse also you can actually interact these screens from one screen to another screen. And there is a one more option for us to, like, after a delay, and the time based interaction also we have. And then what type of animation you want while switching from one place to another place. So you might have seen so many cool animations with a Figma nowadays. Because of these animation types, you can actually create small items or animating items with multiple states into a components you can actually create. I'll show you guys how these will work in different sessions though. So with this course we'll cover these are the basics, how we can actually play with that. So these are the different animations you can actually work. This is like instant, so this actually shows you how you can animate. So ease in, ease out, if you see that, right, so dissolve or smart animate. So that is one cool option, like what we have here. So what is the duration you want to have that animation to, and like that we have move in, move out, push, slide in, slide out. These many different options we'll have for these type of things. And if you see here, right, these different options we have here, like same options what we have here, Figma actually opens up many things here. So that is about our prototype, guys. So imagine that you are creating so many components for so many different properties, right? So then it could increase lots of component into a design file. That makes a complex or tedious task to manage that design system. So for that, we have to reduce that to, or narrow down to certain level, that how do we have to handle different properties of those components. All right, so what do I mean by that? Let's get into the tool and let's try to understand that, right? So let's say we have one component. right? That is our button component, right? This is our button component for now. So I'm just roughly drawing those button components as a frame, right? So it could have some more sizes of it. Maybe these could be some filled color of buttons. Maybe this is our primary button, and this could be our primary's small button and primary's medium button, like that. All right. And I might have the icon into these buttons. So let's say this is my small button. All right, let's try to fill the colors in these buttons. All right, this is my one more button. This is like a medium button for me, and this could have one more type of the buttons. Those would be my different types of only stroked type of button I would have, right? So those will be my outline buttons, I would say. And let's say I have these buttons, and let's try to remove their fills for now. And this same button would have the icons into these items. All right, let's say we have some icons into these buttons, right? And this could be my icon for now. Right, so this is one more type of thing for me. Imagine this way, what we will be doing, we'll be creating so many components for different types of buttons. Maybe this is only one sample for the button. Imagine that if we are creating multiple types of components into design system, then that would be very tedious, right, to handle. So for that reason, we'll be creating the properties of those components. So let's try to create some of the properties. By that you will understand what do I mean by how those properties will help us to reduce those number of items what we are creating, like that. Let's try to see them, how we create them. All right, let's simply start with the button. So what I'll do, I'll try to type some text here. That is my button. So this is my button text. And what I'll do, I'll try to apply auto layout on this one. And this is my default button. And let's try to increase some padding to the left and right. And let's try to fill this with some color. This is the default color what I'm choosing right now. And let me duplicate this button again by clicking on Command D. This is my medium button, and this is my large button. And I would be having one more. So let's say we have three different types of buttons here, and this is my small button. Maybe let's try to increase their sizes just to showcase large, medium, and small. And what I'll do right now, I'll try to select all these three things here. So with this, so if I go on the top right beside to this frame, what I'll do, I'll try to select this one. So I have three options here. So create a component or create multiple components. So these options, what these will do, this is like if you have three different frames, right? So that will create a single component by this option. And if I want to create these as a different components, right? So all these things here, if I click on this one, you see that, right? This is separate component again, this is separate component again, and this is separate component again. But let's not do that right now. So this is just an option what I'm showing how you can play with those options. And let me select these three buttons again, and let's go to this option here and create a component set that is required for us to play with our button variants. All right, so by this way, so what are we are doing, we are trying to create the different variants of that component button. And let's try to name this component to button. This is our button. And if I go to the assets section and I can search that button, and this is our button here, you see that, right? On the top right corner, the notch one, it says that it includes three variants here. And what I'll do, I'll just drag that button here on the top, and this is my button here, and it has three different sizes. Maybe this could be one property. All right, so like that you can actually create the three different variants here, instances of that component here. Those could be your outlined buttons. So like that also you can actually create. So let's say I just duplicate these three items here. So let's say I'm just duplicating three different items here, and let's try to stretch this out under this button properties. What I'll be doing, I'll just remove that fill and try to add the stroke of the same color, and that becomes the outline button. It is quick and easy, right? And if I go back to this button property again, I'll be seeing my all the different variants here. So these will be like outlined small. So I can rename that those variants from here itself. All right, so like that you can actually create the multiple properties into one button component, guys. Oh, that is one. So these are the different sizes for me, right? So let's try to delete these for now. All right, so let's go here and check the all different properties of this button. So reset to default, and let's go back and see button large, button medium, and button small. So these three different states or instances we have, and let's rename this property to the size. All right, so this is my size of the button from here itself. So in any of the design files, if I drag and drop this button component from here itself, I can actually play with my sizes by this way. If you see this property, right, we renamed that property to the size button. So this is one of the property. And now what we want to do, we want to create one more property where the text can be managed from one place itself, so I don't have to go and manually type in my text here. How do we do that? So let's go into this button here. So right now if I change this button here, right, so that changes here, so by that it happens. But if I change something here, that doesn't reflect on my component. That is my child, right? That is the instance of this component what we have here. If you go here, right, under this button property, we have this icon here on the right side, right, apply variable or property here. So if I select on any of this text, right, so that actually helps us to create that property of this button. So what I will do, I'll try to click on this text here to create the text value. So from here in the right side section under this text section, I'll go here on the top and I'll try to click on this one, which throws me one pop-up here. This is more pop-up though, and I'll try to create that as a text property. So this is my one more property what I'm actually getting here, right? So this is my text property. All right, this is my text property, and if I go here and change, I can any time change my text from here itself. So if you see here, right, from there itself I can actually change my text property. So if you go here, right, so the second property what it is added, it is like this here. But if I select this component, right, so we don't have the text property, because the same property we have to apply on this button too. As part of this component we have these three instances, right? So for this instance we have applied the text property. That is why we could see that text property item here. But on this button, if I select this text also, I did not get that. So what we have to do, we have already created that text property, right? So I'll select the same button item here. I'll try to click on this icon again, and this text property is already there. So I'll apply the same text property on this button too, and on this one also we'll apply the same way. And these three things are added. If you go here, right, and if you change to any type of button type, this will be added here. This is one more text property. So from here itself I can actually manage my labels of those buttons. All right, so this is button SM. All right, that is small button. So you see that, right? I did not do anything there, but from here itself, from the right side panel itself, I'm changing the button text. So what it helps, so in future if you are creating the component and if you want to manage those sizes from one places, right, this is how it is actually helping. Now let's try to understand instance swapping. This is one more advanced property what you can create, and this is very important property, guys. In many different ways this instance swap property can actually help you to reduce your number of components or number of states or complexity of any type of components, guys. So let me show you guys how I do this one. So let's go here and try to add some icon here, and this is one icon property what I'm creating. That could be my instance swap property, guys. So let's go to the iconify again, and let's try to drag and drop this icon here, and let's try to change its color to white, and let's try to drag and drop that icon here. All right, and let me, if I want to change this icon, right, every time what I have to do, I have to search the different icon here again, and I have to actually search for the same place and drag and drop here maybe, and that is very tricky to change my icon whatever I had here. And let me cut that icon here, and let me select that frame again, and if I drop that one here, and that is very difficult for me to every time play with changing the icon. So like that, you can actually play with the different properties of the component. So what I'm doing here, I'm deleting this one and I'm actually swapping the different icons with this delete icon. So how do I do that? So for that, what I'm doing, I'm actually creating this icon here, and maybe that could be my icon, and I'm just placing this. So let's say I have one of the icon. So this is very important thing, guys, to understand one thing in this part. So whatever icon or whatever swapping you are doing in the instance of the components, right, those should be the components here. So I'm just swapping the instances of the components, so childs of the component. So these will all act as the different childs of that parent component what we are creating. Those will be swapping together. So let's go here and try to this just copy this icon maybe, or we have to drag and drop the instance here. So if I copy this same component what I have created, right, that should be the instance. So let's say add icon is the one instance what we have here, right? Let me repeat this again. So this could be confusing, right? So these icons are component for me now, and this is one of the component what we are actually working on. Under this component, we'll be dragging and dropping one icon component, that is our instance of that icon component. So right, so this is in under this icon file, we have created three different icons. These are already components. All right, so what I'm doing, I'm going into this app.v1 file, and I'm going to the asset section, and I'm searching as a add icon. All right, so that is my add icon, and this is the instance of that icon. All right, and I'm dragging and dropping, and on this one only I'll be applying that instance swap property, guys. So what we'll do, we'll try to select this icon, and this is our instance of that add icon whatever we have created in this file, right? Under this file, under this icon we had that, right? So we'll go to this icon here, and we'll go to this add icon section again, and you see this icon, right? This helps us to create one instance swap property. You see that, right? So this, because we are actually selecting the instance of one of the component, that is why this option will be there for us. And if you go back again and you click on this one, and it actually shows us the instance swap property kind of a pop-up, and from there we get this pop-up here, and this is like create property, and this is like a instance, and we'll just name this instance to icon, and that property will be added for us. And if we go back here again, and if you see that, right, so this is like a button large, may we have that property, and this is like one more icon property what we had. If you come back to this one again, we'll try to copy the same icon and drag and drop maybe, or we'll just paste that icon here, and here also we'll do the same thing, and we'll just shift that icon position. And if you go here again, we have that property on different types of button sizes, because we already added instance swap property on this one, right? The same icon we are actually changing. So let's say in the single file itself we can have tons of icons, or we can keep adding those icons. Those will be added as a one single file, and from here itself, if I drag and drop one of the component, right, so imagine this is our component, and from here itself you can actually change the icons. Let me show you guys. Under that icon file, if you see here, right, we had only three icons. So let me add one more icon and show you guys how those will be listed here. Let me add one more icon, and let's try to add share icon here, and let's drag and drop from the iconify file, or let's go here and drag and drop. And so this is not a component for now, and let's go back to our same component whatever we have here. And if you see that, right, under this section we have only three icons. That is like, one is like add icon, and one more is like material symbol default state, and some kind of a different three icons we have. And we have actually added one more icon in this file that is not listing here. So I'll show you guys. If I create this as a component, command option K, I'll click to create the component. And if I go back to this file again, and we'll select this file here, and if you select that one, right, that share icon came here. And if I change the color of that share icon, right, that will be updated into the same component structure, whatever we have created, you guys can see that, right? This is updating its color, whatever properties you update in the parent file. Now we will see how do we swap those icons. So let's try to duplicate this one, and these are my three different sizes of the button, and this is my one of the button called medium, and this is my large button. All right, this is my small button, and let's try to swap the icon. So from here I want to have something else. You guys can see that, right? In this button I want to have something different icon here, and that could be my delete icon. So isn't that easy, guys, to manage our instances by swapping them? And it is easy, right? Otherwise what we had to do, we have to drag and drop the icons manually, so that manual tedious process will be gone this way. So we have reduced so many things into one kind of a single component, so rather than creating so many things in different things, right? And now the next step is, let's try to understand quickly how we create the boolean property. This is one of the important property, guys, and very interesting thing. All right, so let's try to go here again, and let's try to have the boolean property. So for that boolean property to work on, we have to select this instance and we have to apply this boolean property, right? And under this appearance section, we'll go to this right side panel and we'll go to this appearance section. Under that appearance section, we'll have this icon here and apply variable or property. We'll click on that icon here and we'll try to add the property, and this is like a true by default because we are showcasing that icon here. We'll try to generalize that name. All right, so this is our one boolean property, and the same boolean property will add on this one too. We'll go to the appearance section, we'll try to apply this property whatever we have created, and that is like show icon. The same way we'll go here and we'll do the same thing here, and that is the show icon. And if we go on the top right, and this show icon property has been added, and if I disable this from here, right, that icon will be gone, and if I enable that, that icon will come back again. With the same way, we'll try to add the boolean property on this text too. So in some cases, if I don't want the text, right, this will help. And let's go again into this appearance section here, and we'll see this icon, right? So we'll click on this apply variable property, and we'll click on this add icon, and this is like show text. This is one common property what we are creating for these two different items. And if I click on this text again, we'll go to this appearance section and we'll see that, right, show text. Same property will apply on these three different instances of this component. So like this, we'll be creating this different types of properties on these buttons. So if I go back again here, and this toggle will be enabled if I don't want the text, right? So that text will be hidden, and this is how this is actually behaving. And for this one also I'll do the same thing. All right, guys, this is how we create the different properties for any kind of a components. This way managing things are very easy, and the tedious process of managing our components will be gone, guys. So well, that is all about Figma Crash Course, guys. We have covered a lot of things about the Figma, guys. So I hope you guys understood something great today. If you do, hit the like button and share with the learners. Thanks for watching. See you. Bye bye.